to get an easy shot. Kleber has that tip by Mobley, but Doncic gets it
Have you
back.
ever noticed the last couple minutes of a close March Madness game can take an hour?
In the years since Donald Trump's third Supreme Court nominee was confirmed, just weeks before the 2020 election, there has been this big question hanging out there. Will they help him? And if so, when will they help him?
Well, that's where we are today, waiting for the Supreme Court to act and force Trump to stand trial for, well, 91 things.
Well, this week, the Supreme Court announced they were taking up Trump's absurd claim of presidential immunity. And in turn, they granted him the thing he covets the most, more time. Because when you're running for president to stay out of prison, you sure don't want to stand trial before Election Day. And by taking up this case, the court has now raised the real prospect that he may not.
Last month, a federal appeals court ruled Trump isn't immune from criminal charges in the case for trying to overturn the 2020 election, which is a ridiculous notion to begin with. Immunity? Come on, we're not talking about a highly technical case of executive action in a complex international theater. He tried to overthrow the government.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building. You don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Let's have trial by combat.
We're talking about a dangerous man, drunk on power and abetted by his growing cognitive decline. Trump recklessly commandeered top secret documents, leaving them lying around his white trash mansion so anyone who had to take a leak could comb through them. He tried to force the Secretary of State in Georgia to change the outcome of their vote. And then he sent 5,000 people to the Capitol to try and stop Pence from certifying the election that he lost, but continues to say he won, even after 60 separate bipartisan investigations and court rulings that said, you're a loser. Here's Trump on Fox News, caught in a lie and acknowledging he has these highly sensitive documents and was showing them to his friends.
According to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a plan of attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president. The Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This is specifically a quote. You're quoted on the recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on this, on tape,
it says just the opposite.
That you can't declassify it, so why have it?
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. An article.
I'm just saying what the indictment says.
Well,
the recording and the people in the room who testified.
These people are very dishonest people. They're thugs.
So everyone expected the Supreme Court to rule quickly. Jack Smith pled with him back in December. Come on. Why? Well, in case you've been on the moon, Trump is facing these indictments, and the country needs to know what's happening because the soulless, feckless Republican Party is on their way to making Trump their candidate for the third straight presidential election. The first two he lost by 6 million votes, and it would make sense that the country could get this case resolved before November so everyone could make a decision based on the results of these charges. The Supreme Court, which, by the way, has Clarence Thomas voting, the same Clarence Thomas whose wife attended the insurrection and called for Trump to overturn the results. I have to stop right here and comment on the insanity that Clarence Thomas is on this court. He's a dull-witted mope who rarely speaks and has shown little regard for any of the tenets of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and has accepted hundreds of thousands in gifts from wealthy Republicans who have cases that would favor them go before this court. How mucked up is that? Sorry about getting sidetracked. So why is it taking so long for A, the Supreme Court to rule on immunity, and two, and I really can't believe I'm saying this, what if they say Trump is immune from his attempt to overthrow the results of an election?
So Trump's election interference trial, that at one point, by the way, was scheduled to start tomorrow, is now being punted months down the calendar. And yes, I know that the wheels of justice can move slowly. I have made this point myself many times. But guess what? The Supreme Court can move very quickly when it wants to. I'm going to give you a few examples. Let's take Bush v. Gore in 2000. The court decided the election in 3 days. And you don't need to look even that far back for more examples. This very court, same members of the court, this very year, moved quickly in a separate case related to Trump when he asked these same justices to take up the Colorado case regarding his ballot eligibility. They agreed 2 days later and scheduled arguments for the following month. That's downright speedy, if I do say so. And they had chances to move with the similar urgency here, even more so. They could have taken up this issue back in December. when Jack Smith urged them to consider his emergency appeal and keep the trial on schedule. But of course, they didn't. They waited until this week to announce they would take up the case, and they will wait until late April to even hear the oral arguments. They know exactly what this means for the trial schedule. They have a calendar, and they did it anyway. So the Supreme Court might claim they are not in the political business, but they just knowingly put the country in a position where people might not know if they are voting for a convicted criminal on Election Day.
Here are my 2 points, and only the fate of the country hangs in the balance. And if you think I'm being dramatic, turn this off and go watch a cat video. Why is the Supreme Court delaying until April to hear this immunity case? Could it be that 6 conservative members are trying to protect Trump, or, to a lesser degree of insanity, are doing an end around on the 60-day window where DOJ does not allow prosecutions? The appeals court case was a solid argument, an airtight argument against immunity that every scholar shows no legal areas of vulnerability. So they know they will rule against Trump, but don't want there to be a trial before the election. Or could they rule that Trump has immunity? And what the F would that mean?
We all know what he did. There's no doubt about the basic facts in any of these cases, really. Look, we watched the insurrection he incited in the U.S. Capitol unfold on television. We saw the photos of the boxes of classified documents in his bathroom. We heard the tape of him on the phone asking the Georgia Secretary of State to find him votes. Even Trump's claim of presidential immunity tells us that he has no interest in disputing the facts. That's not his argument. It's never been, I didn't do it. It's always been, I did it, and I was allowed to. That's his argument. So while the American people deserve trials before Election Day, of course they do, we shouldn't need them in any of these cases to know what he did and to know the danger he poses to democracy and to our rights. Look, there are the people who are always going to vote for him, convictions or no convictions, there's no question about that. The question now is about the rest of us. The rest of us know what happened. The rest of us know what he did. The rest of us see what the choice is between these 2 candidates. We could still get a trial before November, but we might not. Either way, voters will have to defend our country on Election Day. Casting a ballot will be the most powerful antidote to the threat of Donald Trump.
So let's assume the court says Trump has to stand trial. Really legal experts tell me what Jen Psaki said. It's a slam dunk, and Trump should be convicted on both the documents case and the insurrection. But the heart of everything here is time. The longer we delay, the closer we get to the election. An August date would allow for a trial with a resolution before appeals before November 5th. So let's imagine these scenarios. Trump is convicted, but Trump wins. He immediately appeals, but those appeals are delayed, and Trump is inaugurated and either pardons himself, which legal scholars debate could happen, or has his attorney general throw the charges out. Okay, what if Trump is convicted after the election he's won? He can still appeal, and he'll still be inaugurated. All right, here's another insane possibility. What if Biden wins and red states that voted for Biden assign new electors to vote for Trump? Which of these 6 conservative justices would vote against that state? Bottom line is, we need to know now. We need a trial, we need a verdict, and we need a fading chance to turn this country around, away from Christian nationalists, white supremacists, Nazis, and the fringe racist groups that Trump has not only courted and controls,
Stand back and stand by.
but who could bring all this down. The clock is ticking. You have the ball. Let's end this thing now.
Am I wrong?
Damn right.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
Follow, like, and hit notifications as Really American keeps you up to date on the latest Republican cult lie in this very important year. For Really American, I'm Chip Franklin.